Hey, welcome, big dog. It's spooky season, so I thought it'd be fun to give out recommendations for 10 scary movies that are near and dear to my shriveled heart. Also, I'll try to do at least one recommendation per horror subgenre. That way you can still take something from this video no matter how picky you are. Also, I'll keep the spoilers to a minimum, and will pretty much exclusively use trailer shots for the video to preserve your untainted mind. And finally, this list is in no particular order, so don't think I'm saying one movie is better than the other unless I explicitly say so. But do think that my tastes are better than yours, and fight me over it. With all that said, Realm Spinner, throw up that intro. Let's kick things off with a good intro to the genre. Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark is a supernatural horror film that combines a bunch of different elements to make a sum greater than its parts. It follows a group of kids in the 20th century, as horror movies are wont to do, while they encounter a series of spooky creatures. Like I said, this movie is great if you're just jumping into the world of horror, because you're going to see a lot of what this genre has to offer without being pushed into the deep end. It has memorable scenes, likable characters, and a story that's paced pretty well. If you're a horror aficionado, you'll be pleasantly surprised, and if you're just starting out, you'll get a taste of what us freaks are always going on about. Okay, kick out the kids, cause Green Room is a movie about a punk band who go to play at a bar and get a little bit more than they bargained for. It's a small film with a surprisingly strong atmosphere. It's claustrophobic, hyper-violent, and quick-paced without going at a breakneck speed. If you're looking for a horror movie that doesn't have any sorts of fantastical elements and just relies on brutal human-on-human action, this is right up your alley. Next up, The Thing. Now with this one, we're dipping into the world of sci-fi horror. And a staple of sci-fi horror is body horror. The Thing is one of my favorite examples of this. This film centers around a group of scientists out in the Arctic who encounter a creature from another world. Said creature likes to kill and mimic its victims, using subterfuge to get close to new meat so it can consume. This is before the advent of CGI, so the effects are practical. You can really feel some of the aliens here and believe they're actually there. As with Green Room, the Thing relies on isolation and tight spaces to make you endure this sense of being trapped. But it also stokes the flames of paranoia within its characters and audience. And definitely grosses them out with some of the gorier scenes. If you're not shy when it comes to old movies, give this one a whack. And if you are, try the remake. It's not as good, but it's not a bad movie either. The recommended watch order is The Thing 1984, then the remake. But if you want to skip the first, I won't hold it against you, you coward. The remake manages to pay homage to the original while also having a few twists of its own. It's less frightening as well, which could be a plus if you're faint of heart. Either way, watch either of these movies and you'll get the assimilation horror you're asking for. But what if you only kinda like horror? Well, what about a horror comedy? Tucker and Dale vs. Evil is your Huckleberry. It's about hillbillies, college kids, and a series of unfortunate events that bring them into conflict. This is a movie that is far funnier than frightening, but a fan of the horror genre will recognize the tropes this film parodies all too well. If you like gore and laughing at smarmy characters getting their comeuppance, this one's for you. Back to scary. Controversial pick here for you horror nuts, but my next selection is Paranormal Activity 1. It's a found footage movie about a couple that are haunted by an unknown entity. That's it, plain and simple. Now, some people say this movie isn't scary, but what they actually mean is that this movie isn't chock full of jump scares. Paranormal Activity came out at a time where slashers were king, so when people saw this slow, methodical, low-budget project, they were primed to dislike it. This movie isn't scary in that sense, it's more unsettling. I find the setting in particular to be insidious. The movie primarily takes place in a bedroom at night and relies heavily on your own fears, founded or otherwise. In fact, if you're a real one, I'd recommend watching this movie home alone before bed to get the best experience. As for the sequels, I cannot recommend any, because none of them live up to the first. There's a non-canon Japanese spin-off that did something pretty cool with its last act, but otherwise I can't remember anything special about any of the others. Even the one in the hood, which I mean, come on. I feel like that's an easy concept to play with, but they soiled it.
Soiled it! Soiled it! Soiled it! Soiled it!
Alright, as a palate cleanser, let's get back to horror comedy. Bodies, Bodies, Bodies is about a group of friends that hang out in a mansion during a storm. But uh-oh, there's a killer loose doing some killing. This movie is slick and funny. The cast does a really good job here of portraying people that are not the best morally, in a way that's more entertaining than endearing. As things go south though and emotions get high, I was surprised by how well this movie handled tension. Some of the scenes here had me on the edge of my seat in a way that very few other horror comedies have accomplished. So hats off to this one for straddling that line in a way that's more balanced than Tucker and Dale. If you want to zigzag between laughs and frights, check this one out. I'd go as far to call it a modernized, streamlined version of Scream, which ages me. A lot. Oh god. How do I follow up that? With It Follows! This is a film in which our main cast is relentlessly hunted by something. A spoiler. Because of the nature of this villain's antagonist, our heroes are constantly in fear. And you too will be. I vividly remember watching this. My eyes were constantly scanning the screen for hints and clues. I was probably looking around more than the cast was. This is a movie that picks a lane, then expertly drives down it from start to finish. It steals your attention and holds it the entire time, forcing you to look closely, and rewards you with scares. Back to found footage. Except this time, it's personal. I don't know, shut up. The Taking of Deborah Logan is a found footage supernatural flick that follows a group of students filming an Alzheimer's patient that lives with her daughter. It's a film that takes suspense and throws it directly at your face. The spookiness here is dialed up to 11. Whereas Paranormal Activity was slower, The Taking is faster and more aggressive in its attack pattern. It's one of the better outputs from the found footage genre, that is less of a creator of something new and more of a master of something old. Next up, or should I say, down. The Descent is... I'm deteriorating in real time here. The Descent is maybe the scariest movie on this list. It's about a group of ladies that go spelunking, but under the earth awaits horrors our heroes could have never fathomed. And a girls' trip quickly devolves into a fight for survival. This movie is grim, violent, and terrifying. It's a claustrophobic trek through the dark that ratchets up the fear factor to infinity. Without spoilers, it's hard to get into the meat of this buffet, so let me say that this story left me shooketh, and gave me those beloved heebie-jeebies. Of all the movies on this list, I'd probably recommend this one the hardest if you are a fan of true horror. And finally, let's close things out with a little bit of everything. Evil Dead is a series that runs the genre gauntlet. It has action, comedy, body horror, medieval weaponry, all you can ask for. I'm only showing clips from the first one because spoilers, but I'm recommending the whole trilogy. Here's a series I'd recommend watching with the gang on a movie night, because it'll have something for everyone. My personal favorite is the second movie because it has the best blend of genres, but I have a soft spot for the third too. And the first is a classic for a reason. Just be aware that the trilogy as a whole starts closer to horror, then gradually leans more into comedy. If that lowered your interest, fear not, my beautiful viewer. Check out the remake for a more direct horror movie. This might be a controversial take, but I actually think the remake takes the best elements of the original and enhances them to make an overall better movie. Granted, it couldn't exist without the original, so there's that. Evil Dead Rise isn't a sequel to the remake, but it is still part of this universe. And while I think it's the weakest in the franchise, it's a testament to the overall quality that I still really liked Rise. It's less that this movie is the worst, and more that it's the least great. And that's subjective. I wouldn't be opposed to people who put Rise above 1 and 3. Any higher though, and I'm gonna need you to square up. But I digress. Go watch the Evil Dead movies if you dare. You won't regret it. With that, my list, and your transformation to the dark side, is complete. Let me know if you have your own recommendations, cause I'm always on the lookout for something good. Especially slasher movies, cause that's a genre I feel like I never really got into, even though I tried. And that's all for this one. Like and subscribe because I've got more essays, rewrites, and whatnot in the works. And until the next one, stay spooky.